Hello, everybody. Happy Halloween weekend. How's everyone doing? Interesting things going on in the news this week. Of course, as this saga continues, I just learned that one of the words that I've been using to not trigger the YouTube bots is now being picked up by algorithms. So I'm not going to use that word anymore. I'm going to use the word needle. So in regards to more headlines on the needle. Yes, CDC Director Rochelle Walensky was cornered by Fox News' Chris Wallace, actually, in regards to these people who just refuse the needle. What are you going to do? What are you going to do about them? And she gave an interesting answer, which we're going to get into. We are also going to talk about this mandate from the Biden administration saying workers must get the needle, and now a judge is saying, actually, the law still stands, Biden, and if someone makes a religious exemption, you can't force them to do it, Biden, which is just like jaw-dropping, because I had almost given up hope in the court system. Like, I don't think we have judges anymore, but maybe we do now. So we'll get into that headline. And then a very deceptive headline out of Newsweek in regards to kids and the needle. And it's just interesting that now suddenly the illness is a huge problem for kids in these headlines, just as an FDA panel of experts agreed that kids as young as 5 should get it, and just as we are awaiting authorization from the FDA to put that needle in the kids in the upcoming week or so. So it is interesting that now news headlines are kind of going right along with that and being, oh, yeah, because if you don't put that needle in the kid, there's a good chance the kid will keel over. And it's just incredibly deceptive. So we're going to get into that as well. So can you guys hear me? Oop, I am getting a call. Okay. Cool. How's everyone doing Halloween weekend? I got some crazy Halloween nails. Don't get freaked out, but thought I'd do something different. Okay. Before we get into these headlines and really dig into what's going on with these with the propaganda and all, I want to shout out the sponsor, my amazing partnership again with it's a new survey sheds light on the anti-aging industry. 35% of people don't think their anti-aging serum works. The truth is the anti-aging industry is filled with exaggerated claims. We all know this, but there's a secret. The secret is Glow with Ivory. This product is one of the best anti-aging serums that I've tried. You'll begin to look and feel younger in no time with routine use. Thousands of Glow with Ivory users all over America have the same experience. They say their skin becomes softer and clearer and smoother. Glow with Ivory is steadily becoming the best anti-aging serum in America. I highly recommend Glow with Ivory. Try it today for 38% off by going to Glow with Ivory or by visiting the link in the description. Glow with Ivory. This is the Ageless Sprite. Pretty awesome products on it. So let's get into these headlines and talk about what CDC Director Rochelle Walensky said she is going to do about these people who just refuse to comply with getting that in the arm. Okay, so from Fox News, YouTube actually likes Fox News, so we can cite them. Yay. Centers for Disease Control Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky remains coy on whether the Biden administration would support needle mandates for essential workers or students. President Biden signed an executive order on September 9th that required federal employees to receive a needle. Some cities have enacted similar policies despite immense resistance from the very workers the policies intend to protect. So it's interesting. You get down here where Chris Wallace was really asking her, well, what are you really going to do for further mandates? Because some of these people are just refusing. Walensky said that the administration has, quote, a plan to encourage the needle and would point the more hesitant essential workers towards, quote, education and counseling to get people the information they need. She cited numbers that showed that more police officers over the past year have died from the illness than from all other causes of death combined. Wow, more cops have died from the illness than all other causes of death combined. So I guess they're going to put people through counseling and cite numbers like that. And I would argue that America is already being put through counseling with the incessant propaganda that we're seeing every day, and very deceptive headlines as media members partner up with the Department of Propaganda in our federal government. Have I said too much? Look, Rochelle Walensky wants to put everyone who doesn't want something in their body through counseling. Is this like the Chinese re-education camps or what? What do you guys think? But that is her plan right now. She can only say counseling. Thank God. Counseling is not as alarming as some other things that they could do, but it's still a little weird. Are you going to mandate that we listen to certain propaganda? I guess we'll see how it plays out. But they've really been trying, and this counseling is all already underway everywhere you look. I mean, the tiny town that I grew up in Wisconsin, the first thing you see driving into town is a massive billboard saying, get it in the arm now. And it's like, wow, this advertising, who's paying for this advertising in every corner of the world, really? And now in Houston, you drive through Houston and there's giant billboards all over the city with showing little kids with their bare shoulder, encouraging little kids to get it in the arm. So we're going to talk about the kids, because that is a big thing around the corner. This giant push to get all kids to have a needle in the arm. Cheers. This is kombucha. Love kombucha. We're going to do cocktails with Jenny again soon. Jenny and my schedules have been nuts, but she has great insight. I mean, she was telling me about Hunter's laptop, and I was like, she was saying things I didn't even know about. So Jenny Sebasagari is a great person. She just got her citizenship. She's originally from Congo, but we're going to get her back on to get her insight on these issues, the international insight. Jenny, yes, she's a very proud American now after fleeing Congo. Some people who grew up in foreign nations appreciate America so much more than some Americans, because they actually see the contrast of a nation that allows for the pursuit of greatness, and I know that allowance for the pursuit of greatness has been limited more than ever in this past year, which is why people are freaked out. But I digress. Okay, I want to get into this big news about the Biden administration as far as firing people who don't get it in the arm. This is huge. This is really good for people who do not want it in the arm. And for all of those who are like, okay, I did get my 2 doses, but I really don't want the 3rd and 4th, So for those people who don't want incessant doses in the arm, this is, I probably shouldn't have said doses. That's probably another trigger word for YouTube. But this is another, so we're going to cite Yahoo News. YouTube likes Yahoo News. It says here, headline, judge bars Biden administration from firing people who don't get it in the arm with pending religious exemptions. A Washington, D.C. district court judge barred the Biden administration from firing people who didn't get it in the arm and were federal employees on Thursday, siding with plaintiffs who claimed that their employers' refusal to allow a religious exemption to the needle mandate would result in irreparable harm. Sorry, guys. District Judge Colleen Cuttley, if I'm saying that right, issued a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction prohibiting the firing of both civilian and active duty military federal employees while their religious exemption pleas are pending. Quote, none of the civilian employee plaintiffs will be subject to discipline while his or her request for a religious exemption is pending, Cuttley wrote in her order obtained by Fox News. She also specified that, quote, active duty military plaintiffs whose religious exemptions requests have been denied will not be disciplined or separated during the pendency of their appeals. All right. So there's hope for individual liberty, as this judge actually has a backbone. And, we'll see what sort of precedent that sets. I know that I've talked several times, interviewed attorney Jared Woodfill from the Woodfill Law Firm several times on this issue. He's representing a lot of clients who are claiming religious exemptions, primarily some of the first doctors to get fired, doctors and nurses to get fired in Houston. He took on their cases, and judge struck down the case, threw the case out right away for some obscure reason. It's interesting how if judges want to throw out a case, they can come up with some strange reason to throw out a legitimate case. It reminds me of when Texas sued several other states. They sued Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and I think Michigan, and I think Georgia for violating their local election laws. So Texas sued in the Supreme Court, since it was a state versus state lawsuit. And it was like, okay, we got legit justices in the Supreme Court, so this case will be good. This case will be held up. I mean, they were violating their state laws with these crazy rules surrounding casting your ballots. And Texas was arguing that jeopardizes the entire presidential election for the state of Texas and all states. So we're going to sue you guys for screwing up our entire election, since you guys are key battleground states. And then a bunch of other states joined in, and it was like, oh my gosh, something's going to happen. And then the Supreme Court just threw out the case. And just for a strange, obscure reason. And there was, someone, cameras and recording are not allowed in that room with the justices, but someone reported hearing through the wall the justices in a shouting match over whether to take this case on the election, and saying, look, if we take this, there's going to be riots in the streets. And it's just like, wow. So if you feel cowardly, you can just throw out a legitimate case where a state violated the law because you're a cowardly justice. That's pretty sad. But and now we're seeing that in regards to people who don't want the needle in their arm, and they claim a religious exemption, that's protected by law, or a medical exemption, saying, look, I have a concern of an underlying condition that's going to not interact well with whatever is in this needle. And the court saying, well, screw you. We don't care about the law that protects you. You have to get that. You have to go with that anyway. So anyway, now there's hope on the horizon with this. At least federal employees, a judge saying, look, the federal government can't violate your religious exemption. So maybe that sets a precedent for some people to hopefully not just get endless needles if they don't want to. The FDA is talking about the importance of people now getting their fourth needle. Can you believe it? Fourth needle. Are you guys, who, raise your hand, who else going to go for a fourth needle? Craziness, crazy times. Okay, and I really want to get into this deceptive headline from Newsweek. So an FDA panel unanimously voted this week in favor of kids ages 5 to 11 getting the needle. And it's predicted that in early November, I guess, it's going to be authorized by the FDA to officially start needling kids. So, of course, the news goes right in lockstep with these new headlines now. It's been widely known, right? Everyone understood that when kids get this illness, it is just kind of the sniffles, or more like a common cold. And you can look at the CDC's data on kids who get it, and kids just pretty much do not get hospitalized and do not die. I mean, there may be some rare cases, but ages 5 to 11, they're pretty much safe from this virus that I just said the V word, that can devastate old people, And so for a lot of people, the argument is, okay, so kids need the needle in order to protect old people so they don't spread it to old people, because kids are the silent carriers. So for some people, that's their argument. But the news is going so far now as to say, no. Now the kids are in jeopardy. Now the illness is going to kill your kid. And it's sad to see that the news is stooping to that. So I'm going to read you this Newsweek headline. Newsweek.com. Illness, I'm going to calling it the illness. I'm not going to say the C word, but the illness is now a major cause of death in kids, but many parents remain hesitant on the needle. That's the headline from Newsweek. Obviously, I'm putting in my code words so that YouTube doesn't delete me. I've already got multiple strikes from YouTube. Okay, so they give this story of Abby Hammond, who just is not quite ready to put a needle in her 7-year-old. She's hearing different things. She'd rather be hesitant and wait and see how things go for other people. But Newsweek is saying that's not necessarily a good idea to wait. It says here, let's just read some. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation poll, 4 in 10 parents with children ages 5 to 11 plan to, quote, wait a while to see how it's working before putting a needle on their kids. Their reservations run the gamut. Some worry that the needle is not safe. Others believe that the government has exaggerated the threat. A small percentage are opposed to all needles. So, and then they go on. Let me get to the part. Okay, so with the spread of the Delta variant, there's been a recent sharp rise in cases, Newsweek says. With the Delta variant now, kids are in danger. It says the risks to kids are higher than had been first thought. How high? To put it into some context, in a typical year, the disease that kills the most children in the U.S. is actually cancer, about 1,800 deaths, followed by heart disease, which is 600. And now the CDC estimates that over the last 2 years, The illness has killed roughly 570 American kids and hospitalized about 22,000 of them. So that is very, very little. 570. That is, I mean, I guess that is kids dying. 570 kids have died of the illness in 2 years. And I know we've seen reports that a lot of those kids already were like morbidly or obese or had other illnesses that went along with it. But obviously, I don't know the situation with 570. Now, 570 kids in the entire nation, out of the millions of kids in the nation, is not a lot. So you're actually getting down to some brass tacks there in the middle of the article. I really had to scroll to find that. Now let's go back to that line. The illness is now a major cause of death in kids, but many parents remain hesitant. Okay, so why did you put that headline when you're now saying only 570 kids? Quote, even though this doesn't represent the same degree of death and hospitalization as you're seeing in adults, it still represents a major cause of death and hospitalization in children. Major. Interesting. That's a quote from Yvonne Maldonado, an expert in pediatric infectious disease at Stanford University. Okay, so the question is whether we want to prevent deaths in children. Guys, I'm about to upload a very interesting interview on my Uncensored website. This is an interview that would for sure be censored off of YouTube. We get into everything scientific that YouTube doesn't want you to be educated on. I have the link to my Uncensored website in the description of this video. If you guys want to check that out, I'll be uploading this in the next few days. The interview with Dr. Jessica Rose. She is a PhD chief investigator. Actually, before the pandemic, she did major research on HIV, and now she has been totally delving into this new illness. And she actually just co-authored a paper with Dr. Peter McCullough on this illness in kids versus basically deaths and illnesses amongst kids who have not had a needle and deaths and illnesses in kids who have had a needle. And what they actually found is that your chances of dying or getting illness, they told me dying or getting illness after the needle are higher than dying or getting illness from the actual illness before ever getting the needle. Okay, so they submitted this for publication. It was published, and then the preprint was published and then abruptly taken down. No explanation given. It was taken down just days before the FDA met on Tuesday of this week. They had that FDA expert panel that met to vote on whether they believed kids should get the needle. So why was this randomly taken down? Oh, what's up, Meet Kevin? Hey guys, go to Meet Kevin's channel and listen to my interview with him. It was great. Thanks for interviewing me, Kevin. Just seeing your comment there. So it is a very interesting interview with Dr. Jessica Rose. So she breaks down basically what whoever took down her scientific review of kids and needles didn't want to see, didn't want you to see. So she breaks it down for me and gets into way more things, effects on women that nobody's talking about. It's all in my interview. It's about to be going up. So yeah, if we listen to scientists like her, they are saying that there's actually a bigger chance. I mean, there's an official heart issue warning now with the needle that is quote approved. It comes with an official warning about your heart. Your heart will maybe have issues if you get this needle. And it's primarily in younger kids. Basically, the younger you are, the more chance of having these heart issues. Now, when Biden first made that big push for kids to get the needle back in September, when he said he was going to mandate it for corporate workers who work for a company with 100 or more staffers. He also said one big facet of his plan was pushing the needle on kids. And that's when I posted a chart with the hospitalization numbers for kids and adults. Everyone who's been hospitalized with this illness is it's on this chart straight from the cdc.gov. Let me actually zoom in on this. Now, let me see if I can zoom in on it. In the prime, in the height, what is that? The height of the worst cases. That's December through January through February. These are people who've been hospitalized, broken down by age. Each color is a different age. Okay. The red is 65 plus. Navy is 50 to 64, and the light blue is 18 to 49. Now, at the very top, there's tiny specks of gray and yellow, which are 0 to 4 and then 5 to 17. Those are the kids who've been hospitalized. You can't even see that. Kids who have been hospitalized with this illness, it's almost non-existent. I've actually, if you click the link in my description, I put a link in my description to some current numbers on kids who've been hospitalized or died because they didn't get the needle. And you can kind of look at the charts that the CDC has up now. This is a link to the CDC data. And if you scroll down to their chart, again, link in description if you want to follow along with me, but it's a hospitalizations per 100,000 kids and adolescents. And they used one of the most deceptive charts that you can use, which I saw a lot, all the media, and I called out my own boss at Fox at the time. All the media was using these deceptive charts of when they were talking about the illness cases. They were all using cumulative charts rather than daily. So cumulative, of course, it's going to be going straight up. And obviously there's going to be more people. You're not talking about the people who returned to good health after they recovered. So you have this chart that's just going like this, and it's freaking people out. Like, oh my gosh, the illness is out of control, but people were recovering. And if you look at daily, it would be more flat. Talking about flattening the curve, you can never flatten a cumulative curve. Okay. So here, the CDC provides a cumulative curve of children who have been hospitalized. So what we can really get from this is if we go to the very end of that curve, we get to the most current numbers, the cumulative total of kids who've been hospitalized as of August of this year. So this is great. They go back to March of 2020 all the way through August of this year. That is a total of 70 kids per 100,000. So 70 kids per 100,000, if you do the math on that, 70 divided by 100,000, carry the dot over, and now we have 0.07. So 0.07% of every 100,000 will be hospitalized. Your kid has a 0.07% chance of going to the hospital, and then the chance of actually dying are even lower. So kids are basically, you're not going to have to take your kid to the hospital. It's going to be extremely rare. If you do, according to the raw CDC data and its deceptive cumulative chart. And so Newsweek has that headline. The illness now a major cause of death in kids, but many parents remain hesitant on the needle. Interesting. Newsweek has a deceptive headline, but truth buried in the middle of the article. The CDC has a deceptive chart with truth buried in the actual math. And the truth is that your kid is gonna be just fine in this pandemic. And the truth is that there is an official warning for heart issues now, primarily affecting children. So that's the actual truth. Okay. The truth also is that most people are doing just fine, whether they got that in the arm or not. But this deception tactics and these scare tactics are just not okay. Okay. If we can just be straight shooters here and let people know that there is a tiny, tiny chance that your kid might feel really sick with the illness. And there's also a small chance that your kid might have major heart issues with the needle. Just keep it real with everybody. That would be the best thing to do. And that's what I'm here for. So I have that link to the CDC data directly in my description if you guys want to look at that yourselves and just come to your own decision about whether to put this in the arm of your child. Apparently these needle companies, that's what I'm going to call them now, these code words, they studied a few thousand kids over the course of this year. And some members in that FDA panel who said, yeah, let's go with it in the arm of kids. They voted yes on that this week, but they did express that they were a bit concerned that only a couple thousand kids had been studied over a few months' time this year. And now you're looking to put this needle in the arms of like 23 million kids. And it's like, do we really want to do a widespread thing like that when we have made note of heart issues? I mean, we didn't even find out about child heart issues until May of this year. And it's just, I can see why a lot of parents say, I think it said, what was it? 40% of parents or more said that they do not want to. Oh, it was 4 in 10 parents with children between 5 and 11 want to wait and see. Actually, I'm surprised that number is not higher. Only 4 in 10 parents are hesitant to put the needle in the arm of their kid. Yeah, so definitely watch the interview with Dr. Jessica Rose that I'm about to be uploading in the next few days on my Uncensored website, where I cannot be deplatformed. This is totally stuff that YouTube would like to deplatform. And she kind of breaks down how she found that your kid might actually have a higher chance of having an adverse event from the needle than the chances of your kid becoming pretty darn sick. So that's what I got. That's what I got for you guys. Ooh, I got to run. I've got a lot going on today. So I hope you guys have a wonderful Halloween weekend. And let me know what else I should focus in on with my coverage. I'm actually uploading a super interesting interview on energy technology on my private Uncensored website as well. This is the stuff, actually, the Trump administration is one of the executive orders Trump made to peel back the regulations that hamper energy development. This is some of the Nikola Tesla energy technology that never got put to use. One of the many things Trump did that didn't get covered because the media was obsessed with whether he was racist or a misogynist. He was actually doing huge things in the removal of hampering regulations. And the regulations that were in place that were preventing cutting edge, ancient yet futuristic energy technology is crazy. And there's like no media coverage. So I'm uploading a video on that now with someone who's actually the CEO of a new company that is totally seizing this opportunity with this crazy energy technology. I wasn't even allowed to say certain words with him. He said, can we please not use these terms and these terms and talk about these things? I mean, I'm talking things that would blow your mind. He would not even allow me to get into all of it because he said he wants to live a long life. But link to my link to that interview. The interview's uploading right now. It's going to be on my website, ivoryhacker.com. And we'll be back soon with more content. Have a great weekend. Bye.